synchronism, and I explained to us that, oh, this is basically what asynchronism means. And yeah, so I explained to us that when we talk about asynchronism, right, we're talking about um giving your codes that ability to run without having to wait for one another, right? So now I want you to know something, that every computer executes tasks in two ways, especially in JavaScript. Tasks are executed in two major ways. First is what? Your synchronous task. The second is your asynchronous task. I'm going to give us an example of what I'm trying to say. So, for example, now, as I did in our last class, you have let A equals to 10, right? Let B equals to 20, right? And let C equals to 50, right? Now, if I say console.log A, let me just duplicate it. B and then you have C. What are you going to have? If I go live now, what I'm going to have now is what? 10, 20, and what? 50, right? So let's check it out. So you're going to have 10, 20, and 50. Now, this is synchronism. Synchronism is that what? They are in sync. One has to execute before one happens. So if 10 does not execute, right, 20 will not execute. Because in the order right here, 10 comes before what? 20. 20 comes before what? 50. Do you guys now? Now that's synchronism. And this right here is what we call what? Synchronism. So they are in sync. Synchronism, right? They work hand in hand. Now, no. It's saying that A, B, and C, you cancel a lot of A, you cancel a lot of B and C, it will work. But one is running before another. The one at the top has to run first, followed by the one here, followed by this one here. Yes, you are seeing them at the same time, but this A ran first before B. For instance, if this A has issues, so if I say something like this, so if I say something like this now, and I come here and I check it out, can you see now? Because A has issues, what happened? It's giving you an error. It has not run, it did not run A. Do you understand it now? Now that's basically what your synchronism means. Synchronism is saying that, okay, one has to run before one or another runs. Now, that's basically what your synchronism or your synchronous GS is talking about. Now, synchronous tasks run one after the other, right? And they are in order. You understand? Now, we now have the next task cannot execute or start until the previous one finishes. That's one thing about synchronism. So this is called a blocking execution. We'll get all of these called tasks very soon. So I'm going to explain them in details. So as you can see, you have task 1, task 2, and task 3. This is why I just like to stay. Just, you know what? Let me just move my Okay, so let's continue. This one. And just any shop now, any electrical store. Okay, so as I was saying, right? Let's say you have this task one, task two, and task three. This is what happens. Task one starts and finishes. Now, once task one finishes, it moves on to task two, and then move on to task three. You understand? Each task waits for the previous one. That is what synchronous. That is what synchronous sequence. That's one has to come before. It's like one has to come before two, two has to come before three has to come before four. That's what synchronous. Do you get it now? But when we talk about asynchronous tasks, right? We're talking about those tasks that allow JavaScript to start a long task before continuing executing other tasks. I'm going to explain what I mean. Now, if I come right here now and I wrap this up in, let me wrap this up in, or let me wrap this C up, or let me wrap this A up in a setTimeOut function. If I say setTimeOut, right? And then I give it 3,000 milliseconds, which is 3 seconds, and I put this here. Now, if you check it out, now what are you going to have? You're going to have, I want you to note something. So 20, 50, then what? 10. You understand what I'm trying to say now? Look at the code here. Which one is coming first? Good. Then the next one is what? Good. Then 50, good. But now look at what we have in the console. I want you to look at it again. What's coming first? Second is 50. Then last is what? 10. But in this particular place, what was the order? 10, 20, and what? 50. Now this is what asynchronism. Right? This particular function that is here does not care about the other two tasks that are here. You understand? They just run on its own. Why? Because it's actually independent of the other tasks. Are you understanding what synchronism and asynchronism is now? Synchronism is saying that, okay, for B to run, A has to run. For C to run, B has to complete. But synchronism is saying that, okay, since you specify this function to just run independently of other ones, that is exactly what's going to happen. I hope everybody's getting this. That's what asynchronism is. Now, the best way to explain asynchronism is through this setTimeOut function. And I think everybody needs to understand what setTimeOut is. Are we getting it online? Mr. Pius and Mr. Shegun, is it clear to you? If it's clear, just give me a thumbs up. And if it's not, I can adjust to come back to explain it.
It's clear to me.
Mr. Pius, I couldn't hear you.
Yes, I said it's clear to me. It is clear to me.
If you are trying to speak, I don't know why I can't actually hear you. Okay, can you say something? Okay, don't worry. I think it's just can you say something now? Let me know if it is my speaker.
Okay, I said it is clear to me.
Hello, Mr. Pius, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. I said it's clear to me, if you can hear me.
Wow, that's strange. Okay, okay, it's clear to you. I couldn't hear you, but in case you want to speak, you can just help me type it in the chat. You have a question? Okay. All right. So now that's that about introduction into asynchronism, right? So we want to talk about asynchronism. As I said, they allow you to start a particular task, but continue executing other tasks. Now, let me show you what happens when you run something like this, A, B, and C. This particular one starts, right? It has not executed, it's just starting. That's the call stack, right? Now, why is it starting? It's starting because you said, oh, you don't want this thing to show until after 3 seconds. So it has started counting. Do you get it now? Now, as it's counting, These other two already worked. B and C already executed. Now, after 3 seconds, this one is not going to finish. So that's why you can now see 10 in the console. You understand now? Now that's one thing about what asynchronism. Now, examples of asynchronism, where asynchronism are used. First of all, fetching data from an API. I'm going to talk about API very, very soon. Now you're going to understand how to do all of these things. Reading files, timeouts, set timeouts, like I explained, then network request. Now, one of the places that are going to be using asynchronous the most is through what? Is fetching data from an API, which we are going to be doing, especially with our Firebase. Now, I need everybody to well, actually, the vibe I'm getting from JavaScript is actually a negative one because it's not something that everybody's. Sometimes I ask questions, nobody's answering, or there's the body language that I say, like, this JavaScript is hard. So I need to know, is everybody getting this thing, or we are just trying to rough it? We cannot rough JavaScript. That's the problem. You cannot rough JavaScript. You cannot rough JavaScript. It does not work that way. It has to be that you understand it. And how many of us are actually going on to revise on these things? Well, the thing is that you might understand it in class. In fact, it's very, very easy to understand things like this in class, but you cannot understand it if you don't revise. You cannot, how do I say it? So you can understand it, but it's not going to stick. That's why you are roughing it. Yes, but the thing is now is that if you were trying to revise from the beginning now, from like variables, data types, it's easy. You understand? But now, if you want to like revise all of these things first, it's not going to take you more time. So instead of you just revising after each class, trying to build something little by little, you now have to do a lot of things. And that one is even the major problem. Because that one is like you get tired. In fact, it's normal, especially when you're just starting. If you sit down with a tutorial for like 5-6 hours, you're getting tired already. But that one, probably if you revise for like an hour or two, you can just keep building, keep building, keep building. It just helps you more. But right now, you have to like compound a lot of things together just to get this. But it is still something that you can do. If you can do 2 hours a day, the next day do another 2 hours, you will revise all of these things and get it. So everything they are already on the portal. That's what I'm always saying. Try as much as possible to read this text. All of these things, just try and read it. I'm not sure a lot of us have actually been on that portal. 40%. 40. Okay, they move. All right. So now, let's talk about some of these course that I think this is something that let me just give us okay. Yes, she told me that she was not going to she's not going to have a okay, so she told me that she's not going to be around to be till Wednesday. So class captain. All right, so let me explain some of these things. Now we'll talk about JavaScript single threading. Now, one confusing fact about JavaScript is that it's a single threaded language. That means JavaScript can only execute one task at a time. Now, what does this mean? If I have two tasks together, you have a question? Yeah, there's no easy programming language. They have to still learn their syntax. Yes, you can still try it out. You can now check the one that is hard or the one that is easy. You understand? But the thing is that every language has their own work. JavaScript is for web. Java, C++, sometimes for backend. And C++ is actually for software, real developing hardware and software and a lot of things. Java is majorly for backend production. Python, the same thing. They have their own this thing. And Java also builds a lot of games. Python also basically works with data analysis, even ethical hacking, or maybe what's the name of this thing? Cybersecurity. It works with that, and also machine learning rather. It works with all of those things. So they all have their own app. Now it's not that it does not mean that you cannot manipulate Python to work on the web. You can actually use Python to work on websites, but the major this thing is not to build websites. And Python will not build front-end applications for you, to build back-end applications for you, not front-end. Okay, so now this is very, very important. I want everybody to understand what I'm about to explain now. Now, they said JavaScript is a single-threaded language. What does this mean? Basically means that it does not allow you to run more than one task at a time. Now, what am I saying? If you check this particular place here now, let me go to this place. Now, if you check this place now, let me remove this set timeout for you so you see what I'm trying to say. What do you see in this place? If you check the console, what are you going to observe? 10, 20, 50. Do you see 10, 20, 50 on the same line? No. There are what? 10, 20, 50. This basically means that it first of all ran 10, moved on to the next one to run 20, moved on to the next one to run 50. Do you understand now? That means it is running one task at a time and not multiple tasks. Do you understand it now? Now, I want you to think of something. If JavaScript is running one task at a time, then how is it possible for a user to come on your web page, sign up on your web page, and then automatically it works? Is everybody here? I want you to answer the question. So JavaScript is a single-threaded language. It runs only one language. It runs only one task at a time. But what if a user comes to your website now, and then, so for instance, they're going to first of all sign up, and then they're going to click submit. Click submit. Now let me just tell you what happens when they do something like this. This is basically what happens. I'm not telling you the answer, just what happens. Whenever a user clicks submit, this is what happens. At least two tasks are being executed. First, after clicking submit, there is a request sent to the database to fetch your details. Now, why is it like that? Because, for instance, now, is everybody here, please? Because I need everybody's attention for this. Now, there is a request sent to the database to fetch user details. Now, what does this mean? If the user wants to sign up, what do they put? They put in their username. They put in their username and maybe email and password. Right? Now, once user clicks submit, a request is sent to the database to fetch these details. Now, the details, after fetching, what this particular request is for is to check if the database actually contains this username and email and password. Do you understand now? That's what happens. Now, two things are happening here. First of all, there is something checking the database to see if there is if these particular details exist. And then secondly, this submit is also loading. How many tasks is that? 2. Because you already clicked on the submit. The submit button is loading, waiting for something to check the database and then give it feedback. Those are 3 tasks. Now, but I told you that JavaScript is a single-threaded language, which means only one task can execute at a time. So how is it possible for 3 tasks to execute at the same time? Sorry? Not exactly. You were saying something. Exactly. Due to the asynchronous JavaScript. And why? Why is because you said JavaScript is single-threaded. Can only run one task at a time, right? But asynchronism is a part, it allows you to run multiple tasks at the same time, independent of other tasks. You understand now? So because I used an asynchronous function in this case to fetch user details, it can actually wait for everything to fetch and then automatically submit for me to sign up or sign in. You understand now? Now that's what asynchronism means. So asynchronism is actually used in what? Manipulating that single threadedness of JavaScript and making it execute more tasks at the same time. You understand now? So that's one thing about asynchronism. Now you'll be using asynchronism a lot, especially in authentication. What I mean by authentication? Authentication means that you're trying to create a functionality that allows users to sign up or sign in on your website. You understand now? That's why we'll be working on this particular program. This one that is here. Working on it first of all to explain how authentication works. Yeah. So now that's basically one thing about. So now, if JavaScript can only do one task at a time, how does asynchronous code work? Now, first of all, I'll explain all of these things to us, but I don't think they are really that important right now. Okay, let me explain core stack. Now, I just explained that asynchronous code allows you to perform more tasks independent of other tasks, right? Now, but JavaScript is single-threadedness. Now, how does asynchronous code work in JavaScript? We have 4 important components. First is the core stack, then we have web APIs, then we have callback queue, and then we have what? Event loop. Now, I think callback queue and web API is here, that I think an event loop. So I think everyone can go ahead and check it out before the next class on Wednesday. But let's talk about the core stack. Now, the core stack is where JavaScript keeps track of the functions that need to be executed. You know, I don't want to have to like keep using, what's the name? Keep explaining theory. I don't like theory too much. I like writing code, but I need to understand what really happens. Because trust me, if you understand how all of these things work, it is easier for you to write your code. Now, what do I mean? When we talk about the core stack, it works like a data structure, a stack data structure. The last thing first, let's leave that one. For instance, you have console.log task 1, console.log task 2, console.log task 3. Now, this is what happened. Core stack is empty, right? Now, task 1 is pushed to the stack. It executes and is removed, right? What type of program is this? Synchronous, exactly. Now, this is what happened. Task 1 starts. After it is executed, you remove it. You have your answer, 10. Task 2 is pushed to the stack. After it executes, it is removed. Similarly, you have what? Task 3. That is how it happens. One happens, one gets executed, you remove it from the stack. You put another one, remove it from the stack, put another from the stack. Now, this is how your tasks keep running. Now, in our next class, I'm going to explain the callback queue so you actually understand how asynchronism actually works with JavaScript. But for now, let us go ahead and explain timeout, introduction to setTimeOut. Now, why am I explaining setTimeOut? I want you to understand how asynchronism work, and now you can actually use setTimeOut to do a lot of things. So I'm going to open up the last projects that we worked on. Was it on this page? I've actually forgotten. Probably it's on this page. So let's check it out. Okay, it is here. Good. Now, let us try to let's do something here. Let's say you want to have Paul, right? If I click on submit now, you have Paul here, right? If I have John, and I also click on submit, you have John here. And if I click on delete, it deletes, right? Good. Now let us try read, submit, read, Paul. Now, why exactly am I doing this? Now, what I want to do now is that I want to have an alert button, or let's say a modal pop-up. I'm trying to look for a who has the code to the palindrome? Who has done the palindrome assignment? Nobody. Wow. Okay. So let's try something. Now let's say that anytime when I press pause right here and I click on submit, I want this pause to exist for only 5 seconds, right? That's also asynchronism. Why? Why is that asynchronism? Because it's actually independent of other tasks, right? It runs at its own given time and it actually executes when it wants to execute. So now let us try something out. I'm going to come here and I'm going to say, I think this should be it. Yeah, this is it. Now I'm going to wrap it up in its set timeout function. So we're just going to come here and I'm going to say, I'm going to cut this out. So X. So I'm going to say set timeout function. Now set timeout takes in just one important thing, which is your timeout. Now I can remove this time and I can say 3,000 seconds. Now what does this 3,000 mean? This means milliseconds. 1,000 milliseconds equals what? 1 second. 2,000 milliseconds equals what? 2 seconds. Now your JavaScript counts your seconds in what? In milliseconds. So you have to what? Write 3,000 for 3 seconds. Now if I come right and I paste this here now, what exactly happens? There is a problem here. Just a moment, please. So there's a problem here. Okay, yeah, this is the problem here. So X. So I'm going to say set time out. Good. 2,000 milliseconds. Now, after that, I'm not going to save it up. For instance, just note what's going to happen. If I put Paul here and I click on submit, oh, what's happening? It's giving me 19. So let's try it again now. Wait, submit 20. That's a. I think I have to use another example rather than this one. So let's try something else. So I'm going to say, let's try out another example. So let us try out so I'm gonna have a button here. And the button is gonna say click me, right? Then we're gonna give this button an ID of click btn or click button, right? Now in this place, we're gonna have a function that allows you to show a particular text, right? Create a new text and say, oh, just click the button, right? So after it has showed for 5 seconds, it's going to automatically delete. Now, how are we going to do that? So we're going to have a let click btn equals to what? Document dot query selector, right? And then we're going to have hash click btn, right? Then we're not going to have a function, like I said. Now that function is going to be what? Wrapped up inside an event listener. I'm going to say click btn dot add event listener, right? We're going to listen for a click event. Then we're going to have a function. Now on this function, it's going to show, so we're going to say, after clicking on this, what we want to do is that we want to show something. Okay, let me have uh, another element here. Let's have a p tag, right? With an ID of showing. Yeah, good. So let's bring it in. So I'm going to say let showing equals to document dot query selector. Then we're going to have hash showing. Good. Now in this place, we're not going to have showing dot inner HTML should now be equals to what? Let's say we're gonna have an let's just say it should now be equals to welcome. You just click welcome. Good. So now this is what we want to have. So what am I saying? Whenever we click on this button, what do you want? You want this particular message to show. So if you come right here now, you refresh. Now if I click on this place, what do you have? You just click welcome, right? Now, this is going to stay here forever, but you don't want that. Do you understand now? So you have to what? Make sure that this disappears. Now, how do you make sure that this disappears? You can use what? This set timeout function. Now, the set timeout function is an asynchronous example that allows you to what? Schedule tasks and allow them execute whenever you want them to execute. So let's say after 3,000 seconds, after 3,000 milliseconds, sorry, after 3 seconds, after 3,000 milliseconds, you want to what? Remove this particular text. All I have to do is what? Wrap this up in my set timeout function. I can say set timeout, right? Then I can give it 3,000 milliseconds, and then I will now give it what I want to give to it. Now, if you save it up and you click it, what are you gonna have? So let us check it out. Okay, that's it. That's a problem. That's a problem. So what's happening now? It is now. Okay, you know what? We're gonna do it some other way. Now we've done this, right? So what we can now do now is we can have a remove, can say function height button. Now it will now be showing dot style dot display should be equal to what? None. So I'm going to get this. There's actually no problem with this. Okay. So it's not. Okay, so now let us call hide button in this particular case. And let's try it out. Let's see what we have. Okay, good. So now let us try it. So if I click on this place, as you can see, you just click me, welcome. After 3 seconds, it automatically removes. Now, this is one thing about asynchronism. So if I refresh it again and I try and click on it, what happens? You just clicked welcome, and then after 3 seconds, automatically removes. Now, that's one thing about asynchronism. It allows you to what? Write any particular function or write any particular task that you want to write, irrespective of other tasks. You understand it now? So that's one thing about asynchronism. Now, do you understand this? Is it clear to us? It's not clear. Is it clear? Okay. I'm going to explain it again. Mr. John, is it clear to you? What's up? You've not been around for close to a month now. What's wrong? What happened? Just didn't want to come. Eh? Or you've not been feeling well. Then why did you not come? Eh? All right. So I'm going to explain this again so that everybody understands what I'm trying to do. So what I'm trying to do is that I want to make sure that whenever we click on this particular button here, right, it shows something in this tag that is here. Then after 3 seconds, what happens? It removes. Now, for us to be able to do that, we need to first of all bring this into the observer space. So you can say let click btn. I think I've written it before. I don't want to write it again. So let's click btn, right? Bring it here. This one is the formal task. I'm using the same matters. So the thing I just need to focus on is just this last two. Just this last two. So now, as I was saying, right, we have click button. Now we brought it into our JavaScript. Now, what we want to do is that whenever this particular button is clicked, we want to show something in this particular input field. Now, for us to do that, all we have to do is we can say click button. That means that particular button dot add event listener. We're adding an event listener to it. Then we're going to listen for a click event. Then we're also going to have a function, right? And that function is going to say, okay, whenever we now click it, we want something to show on this particular place. So showing.inner HTML, right, will now be equals to what? So we're going to have, let me just use a normal distance. So you just say, you just clicked, welcome. Exactly, that's what we want to have. Now, if you check it out now, it is going to work. If I click it now, you just clicked me, welcome. Now, what we want is that after 3 seconds, we need to remove this. Now, there is a particular function known as the what? The setTimeOut function. Now, this setTimeOut function allows you to carry out timeouts. So after a particular amount of minutes or seconds or hour, or a particular amount of time, certain function is going to execute. You understand? That's why I say set time out. There's also set time interval. Set time interval is between this time and this time. Something has to happen. But set time out is saying that only after this particular amount of time, this particular function has to execute. Now, for us to make that happen, we can just come here right and say set time out, right? Or let me just use the template that they give to us. Set timeout function, as you can see. Then in this place, we're going to have what? 3,000 seconds, right? And in the function, we're just going to say showing dot what? Display. Sorry, dot style. Dot what? Dot display should be equals to what? None. That's all. Now, if you check it out now, and I click on this place, after 3 seconds, it removes. That is what set timeout does for you. Now, if you don't want to do it this way, you can also go ahead and take this set timeout function out, right? Come here and create a function for it. I can say function hide btn, then put it inside of this place. Then you can now easily reference this hide btn in this place, and it's going to also work. It's going to also work. And that's just everything that you need to do. Now, if I come right here now, refresh, click it, then after 3 seconds, what happens? Automatically removes. And that is one thing about the set timeout function. Is it clear to you now? All right. So I'm going to pause the recording here, and I'm going to allow us to write this down. So when we get back, we'll talk about other things in asynchronous JavaScript.